Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Mariki Tarot. New name, I'm still Kat. Thank you for tuning into this pick a card reading that is happening a little bit on a whim, and I hope slash am wanting this camera setup to change. So please bear with me, guys. I apologize for the angles and just kind of my lack of control on being able to fit everything into frame. I hope it's looking good because I'm kind of operating blind with this camera holder that I have right now that's holding this in place. But likewise, we are here to go over these messages. Now, when I was doing the shuffling for each of these piles, it was very apparent to me that a more collective message was coming through. So I am going to kind of run through that initially. So if you are feeling more specifically drawn to either of these three piles, feel free to skip ahead to the timestamp of your selection. No pressure to stay for the collective message if it's not resonating with you, if it's just straight up not your message. So no fault in that. However, if you do want to listen to this first initial collective message, it's something that I would really like to dive into. Probably only going to be dealing with the 4 cards that are face up, if that's all right. Well, if it is how it is. I'm not quite sure where that came from, but I will dive into it now. So if I meet up with you at your intended or selected pile, I will meet you there, but we're going to dive into this collective message for now. So with these 3 cards, what I was feeling is the people who resonate with this message, who this is for, have come a very long way. Whether it's the number of years, like whether that translates into the number of years you've been on this journey, on this earth, whether that translates into kind of the figurative number of steps, if you will, whether they've been hard miles or easy or a combination of both, as what happens in this life. But you've come a long way, and it hasn't been without its pitfalls. It hasn't been without its failures, without its many little victories. But I feel like the group of people that this is for have taken the time to augment or evolve themselves and have taken that time to truly put in a level of care for themselves. And this could mean kind of being self-made. This could mean really kind of being your own advocate in some way. Whether you had to be kind of your own parent or guardian and kind of reteaching yourself lessons that were maybe made available for some people at earlier stages of their life, but that you are kind of new to the game and catching up to. But when I saw these 3 initial cards for the piles, I've definitely felt that each of them were kind of different levels or stages of progress over the course of that kind of journey. And really kind of seeing the union of this more solar energy that I feel coming from this card versus the lunar energy in here. This third one here is kind of a union of the two, and kind of what you intend to do with unifying these 2 aspects or elements of yourself. Because I definitely feel that there was the turn inward of really shaping things up within the self, doing the shadow work, going to those places of vulnerability where and it's work that's so important to do that does get kind of its due in spiritual spaces. But I'll reiterate again just how important that kind of work from the shadow and in the shadow is necessary in order to bring more of just what your raw state is to this light. And this is where I feel just rubber meeting the road. Of putting a more practical sense or semblance into your everyday waking life. So maybe coming from a more private place or devoting a specific amount of time or portion of your day towards this self-work, this self-care, and then integrating, bringing that maybe more from a private sphere and introducing it to your more public life, your outward life. And here we see kind of the evolution of that, the transformation that that has on you. Really just kind of unifying the two polarities, if that makes sense. It's a really beautiful message. It really speaks to a lot of work and a lot of awareness and just being ready. Like this final stage here, I just feel like there is a readiness. Now that I've done XYZ, now that I've explored this, what is left for me? What's the next step? How much further can I take this? And this is part of the oracle deck that I used for each pile, but it popped out and I wanted to save it for the collective message, just because this whole idea of justice, of predetermination, of destiny, if you will, was very prominent with this message. So I did feel like karmic justice had to be kind of a part of it. The blessings are yours. They are entitled to you. You've accomplished this. You have come this far. And I know it's kind of short and sweet and kind of impromptu a little bit, but I did just want to make sure that whoever needed to hear this heard it. All right. So, making the selection now of the piles, respectively, they're going to be as follows, with establishing priorities as pile number 1, trust your wisdom as pile number 2, and set your intentions as pile number 3. And we're just gonna deep dive right into it now with pile number 1. So while I remove these here for now. Righty, we are going to focus on you, pile number 1, with establishing priorities. Let's get the first 2 oracle cards. So establishing priorities, like I said, from the collective message, this definitely speaks to me more of inner work, of kind of going down to brass tacks and building yourself up through habits, through kind of starting with the basics in order to move forward, in order to make bigger, more sweeping changes. Let's see what talisman oracle this is paired with, and change with the chameleon there. So very potent, very potent. Okay, really hoping that all this gets into frame. I can't quite tell, like I said. Righty. These two oracles will say for after your tarot. Here's the tarot cards for you. With the King of Wands in reverse, the Knight of Cups, Eight of Swords, and the Hermit. And then, as I said, these two oracles here from the Beyond Lemuria Oracle deck. We have the sacral chakra and unique gifts here. All right. So this is talking about shipping up or shaping out is kind of my first impression with this. I feel like there is something that you've been going for, whether it's a goal or aspiration or something that you've been trying to fit into an aspect of your life. But with the King of Wands here in reverse, I don't feel like it's been necessarily for you. So whether that means that this was simply something that you felt pressured to have, pressured to move towards, or something that you feel needs to, there's just like this need. And I'm feeling a lot of frustration with the King of Wands in reverse, actually, especially with the sacral chakra here next to it, because when the sacral can't express itself, that defeat and that frustration, it manifests in so many other detrimental ways in our lives. It can create dysfunction in our relationships. It can, both with the self and with each other, whether it be coworkers, your partner, your family, friendships. But your movement forward hasn't been from the most heart-centered place. I'm seeing that much. And there's this want to be vulnerable, to express vulnerability, to offer that cup, to offer what and who is genuinely you, and not feeling particularly able to do so with the Eight of Swords here. And I feel this kind of double-edged sword with the Eight of Swords and the Hermit here, because I feel like the answer is ultimately going to come from you. You are the one that can truly decide what your true path is and what that looks like for you. However, you're also kind of the one pinning yourself down in this anxiety, in this state of feeling trapped. Like you've set the course and you've set up what you planned on doing, how you wanted to move forward. And now you feel like there's a sense of permanence in that. That now you can't go off script. This may also be going back to kind of what I was initially hearing with that shape up or ship out kind of phrase or saying, I guess you could say. It could also mean moving forward with a different type of vision or attitude. Thank you. Yes, it's attitude. And that really going back to basics and kind of, because when I think of establishing priorities, it's different from the pile which is about establishing your intentions, because priorities to me is something a little bit more practical and something a little bit more back to basics in its approach. It's kind of more about, okay, in order to tackle this project, in order to do this kind of work or do this, that, or the other thing, I have to get a good night's sleep. I have to establish these kinds of healthy habits as a part of my life so that I have the energy and groundedness for said thing. So it's really a matter of necessity that this change is taking place for your sake. Yeah. What I think is really interesting with your two Lemuria cards here is we have the sacral chakra highlighted here with this big, beautiful orange orb. And we see that a little bit in here with this card. Unique gifts. Which it's funny because as I'm looking at this card, it almost looks like this figure has a mask that's kind of splitting. And we can't really kind of get an idea of what it was like before. But the face and image underneath is so much more vulnerable, so much more childlike. Maybe this is about getting in touch with a younger, more what you would think of as a naive aspect of yourself. But an aspect of yourself that loves to create, that loves to manifest things and to get things going. And maybe not knowing how to connect this version of yourself with this version of yourself that has been kind of in place, making decisions and essentially how you've been running or orchestrating your life. Moving kind of from a state of I have to I want to. Again, whether this is an endeavor, whether this is kind of your daily habits, how you show up in the world even. This could even be apply to somebody who's like a procrastinator or somebody who, we all have friends who have good intentions and we love them. But say when plans are being made, they're the first ones to, hours before the meeting or dinner or what have you, it's neither here or there, to cancel last minute, to this, that, or the other thing and have things fall through and, you know, ultimately not be considerate of others' time. Maybe it's kind of like a detrimental habit like that of it's time for that maturity to take root. How seriously you show up in this world, I'm saying. And that includes a certain level of vulnerability too. And it is kind of a scary thing. The sacral is a very vulnerable part of ourselves. And maybe changing that attitude of nobody's going to want to see that about me, or no, that's not going to be a thing. That's not going to be acceptable. Maybe finding the courage to accept that within yourself, knowing what your weaknesses are and embracing them in order to change them. I definitely feel like that's the bulk of the message for you, pile number one. Let's get a Foxfire Oracle card to kind of close out with advice or guidance. Alrighty, messages from the Foxfire, the Kisune realm. For that one jumped out, so I'll take it. Any other messages of guidance? Oop. Two others came up. You got all of the advice today. Righto. Okay, so first there came willing entanglement. Yeah, that's what I was getting with that dynamic between the Eight of Swords and the Hermit. It's whatever limitations are in place, it is... Don't take this the wrong way, pile number one. I'm not accusing you. We all fall into these kinds of traps that we create for ourselves. But a lot of the limitations can come from your self-limiting beliefs. It's very easy to fall into these mindsets of lack, of limitations, of I can't do this or I can't do that. That can't possibly happen to or for me. But really, think about how limiting that is. Like, you are setting that decree yourself. You're stating to your own self what you can or cannot do. And of course, subconsciously and literally, the universe is listening to you and you're listening to yourself. Following that, we have Grace, beautiful with the crane, and the awakening with this beautiful golden dragon here. Yeah, you're seeing more. I think how you've changed, kind of going back to the collective message, if you didn't listen to that first message that came out in the beginning part of this video, I was talking a lot about how far people have come, or people who are a part of that message have come, and what changes they had to make in order for the other shoe to drop, for the next step, as it were. And I feel like part of your journey was definitely in identifying this. So I feel like this is an issue or aspect of yourself that you're definitely aware of. I don't think anything catastrophic or cataclysmic needs to happen in order for this to come to your attention. I feel like you're aware of it. And making the change. And this can include implementing positive or more healthy habits into your daily life, or just moving more gently with yourself, understanding that you require and need more patience. In order to move into this more resplendent, just beautiful aspect of just showing up for yourself. That pride. Alrighty, let's look at what's on the bottom of the deck for you here. Rituals and offerings. Okay, so this could be about implementing more practice. So whether that is more practical, like I said, it could be as simple as ensuring that you eat more vegetables as a part of your diet, getting more sleep. If you're implementing on a more like health level, and I'm not a doctor or anything and can't advise you of this, but if you are kind of just experimenting with different diets, different healthcare regimens, introducing a new vitamin or supplement into your routine. Or this, on the opposite end of the spectrum, this could mean implementing a new spiritual practice, a new daily ritual, daily affirmations, carving out time to meditate every day. Something like that could definitely be helpful. What I'm noticing too with your imagery here is the full moon. We just had that beautiful, very, very powerful super full moon in Aquarius, which was very purging in the best way possible, of releasing old paradigms, of releasing old mindsets. So I think that's a call, pile number one, to just continue to usher this negative self-talk out of your life, because I feel like it is coming more from yourself rather than kind of too many outside elements. And with that, pile one, I wish you all the best. I hope that this really does move you towards what you are wanting to obtain, and I will see you in my next videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And the Light in the Shadows cast. Take care. Righty. Don't want to make these like completely silent as I'm getting ready for the next piles. Just removing the cards here. Righty, as we move into pile number two. Okay, now this was, and before we even reveal your other cards, this is the pile where I feel the rubber is meeting the road. So where the first initial pile was definitely about kind of building back up or kind of reinventing habits or starting kind of at like the foundation of the self. I feel like this has a lot more experience, especially owl imagery always reminds me of kind of and spiritual energy that's been around the block a little bit more, that has experience from practical application in the physical world, and adopting and using those experiences and adopting them as wisdom on the more cerebral or spiritual plane. So I'm getting establishment. I'm getting just a very, if this is speaking kind of about your role, maybe in your job, this could mean that you've put in an X number of years into that specialization or that field. But that's what I'm feeling right off the bat, is that this is more established, experienced energy. Ready? Let's get your other cards in play. Talisman, you have grounding. Yeah, definitely very much of the real world, just seeing aspects and manifestations in your real life. It wouldn't surprise me if you have been kind of on the spiritual path for quite some time, if you are starting to see kind of the fruits of your kind of labor, as it were, if you are starting to see physical gifts or manifestations from your practices. Which, good for you, pile number two. That is an amazing place to be at. Let's get your tarot cards. We've got the Six of Swords with the Four of Cups. Definitely discerning, picky about your energy or what energies you bring closer to you. This one's interesting. I do take cards in this position. I kind of refer to them as like blocked, so kind of middle of the road, not reverse, not upright. So we have the Seven of Swords in a blocked position. Following that, we have Temperance, the Eight of Cups, and the Magician. Okay. Okay. Let's see if I can squeeze these into frame. You guys got a lot of cards. So for your Beyond Lemuria cards, you got, I want these kind of all together. Yeah. Maybe let's push these up a little bit more. I apologize, pile number two. I don't mean for this to cut into your reading at all. Okay. Anywho, so for your Beyond Lemuria cards, we have the element of fire, Solaris Sublime. Look at that powerful, powerful, just raw creative energy with those dragons. We also have surrender and luminescence. Really bringing out the raw spark from yourself. I feel kind of like this is kind of relating to the first pile in the sense of maybe identifying where there's been a little bit of staleness. Like I said, you have been, I was definitely feeling like you've been a part of a field, a role, a way of life even, if we're talking about lifestyles. I feel like it's something that you have a lot of experience with, that a routine that you're used to. I feel like it's kind of like those people that you can look at a clock and think of, oh, I know exactly what so-and-so is doing right now, kind of thing. Like at any given point in a day, you can think of like a time and you know exactly what you're doing during that time, what you need to do during that time, etc., etc. So maybe just finding a little bit of redundancy or staleness in that, and just a desire for more spontaneity. Because with the Six of Swords and the Eight of Cups here, I definitely feel like there's a desire for movement, a desire to kind of mix things up, to even tap into a sense of play with this Magician and the fire element card being here, tapping into your inner fire, whether that means getting up and dancing, if you are a creative, like a artsy and crafts kind of person, of tapping into your creativity and painting, sculpting, drawing. But I feel kind of like that breaks your particular mold with this kind of Seven of Wands in the blocked energy here. So sorry if you can hear the children in the background. If it gets too bad, I'll close the window, but apologies for that. Because I feel like this creativity, this kind of just need for a breath of fresh air, you acknowledge that you need it, but at the same time, it's so uncomfortable for you just because you are so selective and so judicious with your time, with this Four of Cups being here. I feel kind of like with this Four of Cups in particular, it's almost as if like this cup could, it doesn't even have to be an opportunity that's being offered to you. It could be something like, oh, I have an extra hour this afternoon. I could read a book that I like. I could, take some time to do something that I enjoy. I could watch like an episode of a TV show or do just something as I would like. And instead of that, I feel kind of like, oh, I have this extra time. I could use this to get ahead on this paperwork or get ahead on cleaning, or just really this kind of need to fill your day and make sure that you're using time as effectively and efficiently as you can. Kind of being your own dictator. And understanding that we all do require that balance. It's great to be productive and it's great to be practical. It's also very needed and necessary to dip into the things that make us happy just because. We don't need a reason. Not everything needs a reason. Yeah, because with this anchor here for your talisman, grounding is a very essential practice in spirituality. There are definitely times when you need to ensure that what you're experiencing and carrying over from your meditative experiences or experiences that are a little bit more intangible, that you're cementing those experiences with the practical application. But with grounding comes that heaviness, and it can definitely err on the side where if you fall and kind of stay, I don't want to say too grounded, because I don't really think of it as a negative necessarily, but if you were to kind of think of the negative, more like the not so positive aspects of grounding, it can feel heavy. It can feel sluggish and slow. This is a reality where things take time to happen. And I feel kind of an aspect, pile number 2, of you taking that so literally. And like, I really feel that you're being called to just let loose with the surrender card. You know what you want, you know what you're after. And it's okay to, the victor goes the spoils. Because pile number 2 and so many walks of life can apply here, but I feel like you're the kind of person who works very, very hard, that I'm getting a lot of like practical, very down to earth energy. So you may be an earth sign in any capacity or whatever that means, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. Maybe those are very prominent aspects of your chart. But pile number 2, I don't feel like you're the kind of person that if you were to take a day off, if you were to splurge a little on yourself, if you were to like have a spa day or go in for a massage, or even just go out on the town and just do things that you like, get lost window shopping, maybe do a little bit more than window shop, you know? I don't feel like your life would be thrown to the wayside, because I can definitely sense just how responsible and prudent you are in kind of the more mundane. And I don't mean that in any negative context whatsoever. We all need to pay attention to what we're doing in this life and our responsibilities. But now pile number 2, I'm just getting a serious call for you to just play. And whatever that means for you. Let's get a couple of Foxfire cards for guidance. Right. What's some guidance for pile number 2? What's next? Oh. Just the one, yes. Acceptance. Okay, so having the ability to receive, I think, is huge here. Like I said, pile number 2, I can tell that this is a group that works very, very hard and maybe sees playing hard as maybe a drawback, or, oh, if I lean too much into play, I'm just gonna lose all of my progress. You're not gonna lose out. What is for you is for you. And I feel like you are definitely cemented enough in the habits. And actually, this feels like a progressed form from the previous pile. So kind of, it's almost like having the opposite problem as pile number 1. It's realizing that you have put in a lot of energy towards being this reliable person. And as such, you've earned this. You've earned a little bit of a reward. So if you're thinking about it, go on that vacation. Maybe spend a little bit of extra money on what you've been eyeing, you know, in your cart on that online store for however long, because I do that. But try to lean more into being more okay with receiving, because as somebody who has trouble with that myself, it's easier said than done, but it is worth it, pile number 2. And it's a part of knowing your worth. So while you've established how much of an asset that you are, whether it's at work or in your life, whether you've proven your reliability to those around you in the professional or personal sense, accept the little nuggets of victory that come back to you. You've earned it. I really love this. Bottom of the deck, we have Make a Wish. So cute with that little baby dragon. And it just reiterates my point, pile number 2. Nothing is too impossible, and not everything is going to crumble to pieces that you've worked towards just because you give back a little bit to yourself. Great. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you, pile number 2. I hope that this message resonated well with you. Please like, share, subscribe if you resonated with this message and enjoyed this video. I really, really appreciate it. And I will see you in my videos to come. To the light and the shadows cast. Take care. And moving right on to pile number 3. Again, just I can't be silent during these transitions. Right. Last but certainly not least, and I'm very excited about your pile number 3. Oh, just that really vibrant upper heart chakra energy that I'm getting with that pink. This is about the next step. This is all about melding kind of the 2 messages and 2 realities of the previous 2 piles. I feel like you've integrated kind of the practicality of addressing things in the physical world, as well as doing the inner work necessary for balance, for progress and evolution and transformation as an individual. So let's see where that transformation is taking you. Talisman card here is Finding Love. Very lovely, very lovely. Now, if you are in a relationship situation, then you know that applies to you. This can also mean union and unification within the self, which is just as important. You guys got quite a few Lemurian cards yourself, so let's look at your tarot. We've got the Grimalkin card, which is a specific card to this deck, and the 6 of Wands, followed by the 2 of Wands and the Hanged Man, followed by, is that the 9 of Swords? Yeah, or 9 of Wands, sorry. 9 of Wands, 3 of Swords, 6 of Swords, and the 7 of Pentacles. Aw. Oh, there's some heaviness there. All right. Ooh, so many. There are good things about this pile, Also some very sad ones, which I'll dive deeper into in just a moment here. Then you've got your Lemuria cards, the heart chakra, transformation, and solar plexus chakra. Okay. Well, pile number 3, you cannot take things at face value is definitely kind of the feeling here. And what I mean by that is I'm focused on the pairs here, the pair of seahorses here in your Find Love talisman, as well as the Two of Wands here. I feel like a choice is in front of you, whether you're choosing between a person, like whether this is a romantic situation and you are trying to decide whether to partner up with a person. Maybe you are aware of this individual, maybe you're not. I want to say that you're at least loosely aware of them, or like this is something that you're considering, or an individual that you can at least like place, or even deciding, like if this is kind of a dating situation, this could boil down to, do I want to put myself out there or not, kind of thing. And I see, like with the butterflies here in your initial card, just that openness, that fun, that vibrant energy of new, of wanting to get out there, socialize, vibrancy, just like really speaking to, I'm ready, new experiences. However, with this second row here in particular, if I'm to just lower these for a second, because the Nine of Wands in reverse, and that kind of energy to me is a sense of, I can't lose again, I can't take anymore, I can't put myself through more of this, etc., etc. And I feel like with the Three of Swords here, it's really wanting to commit to that idea. It's really not wanting to forget or lose sight of that. And pile number 3, if that's what you're fixating on, then all you're doing is just taking, like, imagine this beautiful, like, explosion of butterflies and just newly transformed open energy. Just imagine all that just curled up, like crunched up, like in a fist. Like, it's closing your heart off to that set of new experiences. And I feel like with the Six of Wands here, you have definitely, and between the Six of Wands and the Two of Wands next to it, there's a Four of Wands at play. So I feel like you've striven to be on top, to be in a secure, what you deem to be kind of victorious position, a stable one at that. But also, but thinking, instead of kind of relishing in that or acknowledging, hey, I am in this really prime position right now to be looking for a partner or to do XYZ. Because I do definitely feel it could go either way. Some of you might be in a romantic situation or ready for that or not. So I don't want to say that that's the definite situation for all of you. But also in making a choice, I feel like it's also shaded by prior less than savory experiences. Like, well, if I open myself up, this is just going to happen again. I'm just going to get hurt again. I'm just going to put myself kind of in this rut again. And with that, with those thoughts of failure, because that's definitely how the Seven of Pentacles can sometimes be seen or interpreted. What I've always accepted and loved as a part of the Seven of Pentacles medicine, though, is there are lessons to be learned from things that don't quite work out for us. And if you learn something, especially if it's something that's so applicable for your future to create a better set of experiences for yourself, can you really say that that was time wasted? And especially if this is talking about experiences in prior relationships, you're not dealing with the same type of people, and you are not the same person that you were. With the imagery of the seahorses too, I think you understand. Maybe you were in, excuse me. Maybe you were a part of kind of a situation or path where you were seeking or had always wound up with partners who were, I don't want to say less than you. That's not a very nice way to put it, but being a part of relationships where you had to be the bigger person, where you had to either emotionally or psychologically compensate for your partner, when really it's all about compromise and walking through conflict and hard times together, as opposed to one party breaking down and kind of throwing all that stress and then some on the other person and expecting them to carry the burden at hand and their burdens for them. Like, so maybe acknowledging that you have to, or that you're moving towards someone or have a desire for someone who is more in your realm of capabilities, like somebody who matches you, essentially, energetically, maturity wise. Since seahorses, I do associate them so much with fertility and with parenting. Maybe that's a chapter of your life that you're moving towards or wanting to move towards, and it's intimidating for you because you're like, well, how do I bring that up in the conversation? How do I make that an expectation and communicate that effectively and appropriately in a dating situation or scenario, essentially? And if this is not a romantic situation, what I feel about this finding love card is accepting that maturity and kind of leveling with yourself, accepting that that is where you're at. And maybe you're kind of feeling a little bit of hesitation because you're like, oh, well, that's what old people think about. Not that there's any problem with being old, but as somebody who is in my 30s, I definitely have been exposed to people who, God, they cross that 30 threshold and they think that just life is over and like senior specials at Denny's are right around the corner. Not true. There's plenty of life left. You're just in a different leg of the journey now, and it means something different. And I know that you kind of are realizing that. And with the Hanged Man here, yes, it's definitely a change in perspective. You can look at it as a challenge or be anxious about perhaps finding someone who checks the boxes, checks the boxes? Yeah. Check the boxes in that regard. Or you can look at it as a fresh opportunity. because there isn't a manual about how these things are supposed to go. And even though they're kind of put out of order here, I feel like it's a definite transition and transformation of going from the solar, more ego-based expectation. Nothing wrong with the ego. We all have one. And I think it's a more realistic expectation of viewing the ego as something to be balanced out, heard, but also kept in check, versus in some circles, sometimes it kind of seems like we need to do away with our ego. We just need to be this almost like this amorphous kind of go with the, like, not even going with the flow, but being flow and not having any expectation or solidarity in the personal regard at all. But no, I feel like the ego is something that we definitely is a part of us. And just like our shadow, it can have a seat at the table. It can definitely, we can learn from it, and also we can evolve because of it. So that was, talk about getting sidetracked. But I feel like it's a move from that more ego-based thinking to a more all-encompassing, open-hearted way of thinking, resulting in this transformation. And this figure does not look like she has it all figured out, does she? It's kind of like a birth. She's vulnerable, viewing things seemingly for the first time, and allowing herself to be entranced, of experiencing wonder. Going back up to this card, like I said, the Grimalkin card is a extra card, a part of this deck. It speaks to, at least to me, spiritual guides. And definitely is saying to me in this situation, at least, that you are protected. You are that this is a safe space to grow. And that this is a part of your growing experience. You don't have to be worried that there's someone to be, that there's like a knife behind every corner, or like you have to be looking over your shoulder the whole way. So whether you are, however active or in tune with your spirit guides or team as you are, this could also mean that just you have people looking out for you and being conscientious of your better interests, friends, family, who maybe have seen you struggle in past relationships or situations, and who know what you needing help looks like. And this is a beautiful opportunity, pile number 3. I'm really, really excited for you. So with that being said, let's get some guidance from the Foxfire as we hit an hour on this. I like to think I kept the messages pretty short and sweet. First video that I've done in quite some time. Hopefully many more now that I can hopefully get on schedule. But neither here or there. We're talking about you. Righty. Any messages of wisdom, healing, and guidance from the Foxfire? For my dear pile number 3s. I'm gonna take this one. Any other messages for pile number 3? And these two. Okay. Alrighty. 3 cards. Got a lot of guidance too. Like pile number 1. So we have the creation of light, a time to walk alone, and watch and listen carefully. Yes, so this is about, to me at least, creating space. If this is about partnership, it's about being open and willing to let another person come in. If you are exploring more committed relationships or just the idea of having a more mature or a more mature or established relationship, or even if it's a situation where maybe you're considering moving in with this person or having this person move in with you, it's having that understanding and patience within yourself to create this space for them, while also not losing yourself. Which again, I think it's kind of interesting that relationships, and then a time to walk alone is here. I'm not necessarily viewing this as, yes, just throw anything that you were planning on proceeding with this person, just toss it all to the wayside. You're better off by yourself. I don't feel like that's what this card is saying. I feel like it's just more of a don't lose yourself. Because maybe, like I said before, you were prone to giving your all and then some in relationships before. And now you have the chance to have a more reciprocative relationship with somebody or with a new partner. And to bring that to your future relationships. And even because, especially if this is someone who is thinking about re-entering the dating world, it doesn't mean that the next person that you set eyes on is going to be Mr. or Miss forever, you know? Like, it's just being open enough to those experiences to have fun, to bring this newly honed and developed version of yourself and practice that in and across relationships of many different kinds. And it's funny, with this watch and listen carefully, I was just thinking, because I was going to say with this card, you know what to look out for. You know what signs are problematic. And notice this woman is surrounded by these red flowers. You can interpret those as red flags. How maybe before you were a little bit more lenient and, oh, this person does this, I guess I'll let that slide. Or, oh, like, I wonder if that's normal. I guess that's just something that somebody does. But I feel like you're definitely more experienced and have seen enough to know what is problematic and what's not, and what you take issue with and what you don't. Bottom of the deck is tea ceremony, which to me, because tea ceremony is all about intention of having a designated practice or establishment in place. And in the realm of relationships, this could be seen as, like I said, just wanting and desiring that more mature outcome, whether it's just wanting to find a long-term established relationship, or even like edging into the realm of marriage, of now you're on the hunt for that husband or wife material. And just understanding that, like, that outlook is different this time around. And you can do it, pile number 3. I have all the faith in the world that you will find the person, or if you're listening to this reading and a specific person's name or face pops up as I'm talking to you about this, I wish you all the best. I hope that with this new, more seasoned, established, mature energy that you're bringing, that is what you in turn are attracting, and that's what's taking place in your life right now. Everyone deserves to be loved, especially on this level. And I feel, just like with the seahorse card here, like with finding love, that you are worthy and capable of someone who gives as much as you do. And if this is a situation where you're kind of leveling with yourself and this is kind of an inner union and you're just accepting this new level of maturity within yourself, welcome to the adventure. New stages are fun. It doesn't have to be, just like one chapter down or anything like that. There's much more left. There's plenty left. All right, guys, that concludes this for now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I really look forward to seeing you in my next videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you next time to the Light in the Shadows cast. Take care.